Hello everyone, this is Dhanasri Chaugle. Welcome back to my channel Ganga Education. Please like, share, subscribe my videos for more information regarding law. We are studying Criminology and Correctional Administration. In today's lecture, we are going to deal with classification of prisoners. This is our syllabus of Criminology and Correctional Administration. We are studying unit number 4, punishment of offender. In that, we will discuss classification of prisoner, which is mentioned in 4.3.5. Classification of prisoners: male, female, juvenile and adult, under trial and convicted prisoners. Let's get started. Prisoners classification. A prisoner is required to be treated as human being, entitled to all basic human rights, human dignity and human sympathy. Which means prisoners are human beings and must be treated like human with dignity. Even though Ajmal Kasab was a terrorist, we gave him a proper facility in prison and treat him with human dignity, and his funeral was performed in accordance with his religion even after he was hanged. Let's discuss who are prisoners and what is the meaning of prisoner. A prisoner, also known as inmates, is a person who is deprived of liberty against their will. This can be by confinement, captivity or by forcible restraint. The term applies particularly to those on trial or serving prison sentence. The definition of prisoner is given in Goa Prison Rules 2006, which has been approved by the government of Goa on 12th October 2006 by way of notification. The definition of prisoner as per the Goa Prison Rules is any person confined in prison under the order of the competent authority. The person who is ordered to confine under prison by the competent authority is considered as a prisoner. Prisoner is the term used for under trial prisoners also, as well as for undergoing sentence also. In achieving the fundamental object of prison administration, as we have seen, to win the offender away from wrongdoing in future and to make his return to society safe and useful. To achieve this end, classification of prisoners on scientific line is absolutely necessary, and without classification, individualized treatment through which prison now seek to attain this object is impossible. To achieve the fundamental object of prison administration, state have to prevent the offender from wrongdoing or committing the same crime in future or similar crimes in future, and to make him safe and useful to the society. To achieve this end, the classification of prisoner on scientific line is necessary. The object of classification is to prevent the disastrous association of prisoners of various degrees of criminality. Classification also enables the jail authorities to provide different types of treatment to different categories of prisoners on the basis of their individual capacity for reformation and rehabilitation. Experience of even the early prison reforms tells us that worst psychological trouble would arise if the prisoners are huddled together irrespective of their crime peculiarities. Criminal propensities cannot be removed without the knowledge of the history of crime and of the family background, mode of living, education, culture, and other aspects of life of the criminal. These objectives difference serve as a basis for different types of treatment in the matter of food, lodging, work assignment, recreation, intellectual and reformatory courses, etc. for different categories of prisoners, etc. In short, if we put the habitual criminal with casual offenders, then a first-time offender or casual offender can be influenced by habitual one. So, their separation is necessary. It will help jail authorities to provide different types of treatment as per their requirements and needs. Chances for reformation and rehabilitation is different from person to person. So, categorizing of prisoners on scientific line is very necessary and helpful. The Model Prison Manual includes the following among the object of classification. First, to study the offender as an individual, to understand the sequence of his criminal behavior and the problem presented by him. No one born criminal. He may commit the crime in heat of passion or due to lack of restraint on anger or due to losing self-control while committing an offence. So, these aspects must be taken into consideration at the time of classification. Next object mentioned in a model prison manual is to segregate inmates into homogeneous groups for the purpose of treatment. Homogeneous means similar groups, okay, for the purpose of treatment. Next object, to organize an overall balanced, integrated and individualized training and treatment program. Next object, to review the inmate's response to institutional regime and treatment and to adjust the program to suit his needs. If any treatment program is implemented on them or followed for them, then by classification it will helpful to review the response of the prisoners, and if there is any need to make changes in a program, it will be done accordingly. Next object, to coordinate and integrate all institutional activities and to develop a system of constructive institutional discipline to maintain an informed continuity in the various phases of institutional management. Means a proper institutional management can be done by classification of the prisoners. Next object, to ensure maximum utilization of resources and treatment facilities available in the institution as well as in the community. Various resources and treatment facilities are available, and by classification of the inmates, it will ensure the maximum utility of such resources and treatment facilities. For example, handling habitual offender is skillful task. They don't listen anyone easily. There is need of more resources or skillful staff for them. The treatment facilities are different for habitual offenders as well as for casual offenders. So, by classification of the prisoners, it will helpful to utilize those resources or treatment facilities in a proper way. Hence, scientific classification is thus the basis of individualized correctional treatment, which includes proper custody, discipline and work assignment. The handbook on classification, prepared in 1947 by American Correctional Association, points out in greater details the advantages of classification as follows. First, proper segregation of different types of offender. Second, more adequate custodial supervision and control. Third, better discipline. Next, increased productivity of inmates. Next, more effective organization of all training and treatment facilities. Next, greater continuity in the training and treatment program. Next, higher personal moral. Next, better inmate attitude. Next, reduce failure of released prisoners. And next, better guides in long range planning of building requirements. And last, classification report may have many unpredictable values. American Correctional Association Handbook on Classification in Correctional Institution. It is obvious that classification in prison should be based on certain principles, viz. Age, sex, physical and mental condition, educational and vocational training needs, and potentialities for reformation and rehabilitation, besides factors like nature of crime, motives, provocations, previous history of the offender, his social progressing, his sophistication in crime should be taken into account to determine his gradation in custody and appropriate treatment. Section 27 of Prison Act 1894 speaks about separation of prisoners. Section 27 says that requisition of this act with respect to the separation of prisoners are as follows. First, in prison containing female as well as male prisoners, the females shall be imprisoned in a separate building or separate parts of same building in such a manner and to prevent their seeing or conversing or holding any intercourses with the male prisoners. Means, as per section 27, where male and female prisoners are confined together in same prison, then female shall be kept in separate building or separate parts of the same building to prevent their seeing or to prevent from communicating with each other or holding any intercourses with male prisoners. Next classification as per section 27 is in a prison where male prisoners under age of 21 years are confined, means shall be provided for separating them altogether from other prisoners and for separating those of them who have arrived at the age of puberty from those who have not. Which means this classification is based on age. Classification of male prisoners. The male prisoners under age of 21 years shall be kept separately from the other prisoners who attained or who is more than 21 years of an age. Next type of classification mentioned under section 27 is unconvicted criminal prisoners shall be kept apart from convicted criminal prisoners. And next, civil prisoners shall be kept apart from criminal prisoners. Basing upon the above provisions mentioned under section 27, the provisions mentioned in jail manual and various researches made on the classification of the prisoners, we can classify the prisoners in following heads. First, male prisoners. Next, women prisoners. Next, adult prisoners. Next, juvenile prisoners. Next, under trial prisoners. Next, convicted prisoners. And two more heads are also there, that is criminal prisoners and civil prisoners. Firstly, we will discuss who are male prisoners. First, male prisoners. This classification of prisoner is based upon gender. Male prisoners shall be kept separate from female prisoners. Again, male prisoners are also divided as per age. Prisoners under age of 21 years shall be kept separately from who have attained age of 21 years. Again, habitual criminals shall be kept separately. Under trial offenders also shall be kept separately. Next, women prisoners. This classification of prisoner is also based upon gender. As per section 27 of the Prisons Act 1894, in prison containing female as well as male prisoners, female shall be imprisoned in separate building or separate parts of the same building in such a manner and to prevent their seeing or conversing or holding any intercourse with the male prisoners. The history of women prison in India can be traced from the recommendation of Indian Jail Committee 1919-1920. There was no separate prison for women at that time, and only after independence few special jails for women prisoners were developed in India. However, the condition of women prisoners either in a separate women's cell or in a special jail was very unsatisfactory. The National Human Rights Commission visited some jails including women prisons and recommended some measures for improvement of conditions in women prison as well as women prisoners. In the year 1987, National Expert Committee on Women Prison under the chairmanship of Justice Krishna Iyer apprised the situation of women in jail and made various recommendations. Some of the important recommendations includes: women prisoners should be informed of their rights under the law. Only women constables should conduct searches of women prisoners. Women doctors should do medical checkup of women prisoners as soon as they are admitted to prisons. Women prisoners should be allowed to contact their families and communicate with their lawyers, social workers, and voluntary organizations. Women prisoners should be allowed to keep their children with them. Separate jail should be provided for women, and special prosecution officers should be available to present the case of women prisoners. These recommendations are made by this committee. Next classification of prisoner is adult prisoners. Male adult prisoners, those aged 18 years or above, are given a security categorization soon after they enter prison. These categories are based on the combination of the types of crime committed, the length of sentence, the likelihood of escape, and the danger to public if they were to escape. This classification is done basing upon the age of the prisoner. While subcategorizing of adult prisoners, few things are taken into consideration, that is, a type of crime committed by the prisoner, the length of sentence, that is duration of sentence, and the likelihood or chances to escape that prisoners, and the danger to public if they were escaped. Next classification of prisoner is juvenile prisoners. Juvenile in conflict with law under the Juvenile Justice Care and Protection Act 2000 is a juvenile who is alleged to have committed an offence and has not completed 18 years of age as on the date of commission of such offence. The definition of juvenile is given in Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2000, and as per this act, juvenile is the person who is alleged to have committed an offence under age of 18 years at the time of commission of such offence. As per Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act 2015, juvenile means in case of heinous offence alleged to have been committed by a child who has completed or is above the age of 16 years. After Nirbhaya rape case, the definition of juvenile is amended in 2015, and as per amended act, juvenile means a person who commits the or alleged to commit a heinous offence and is under age of 18 years but above 16 years is considered as juvenile. Juvenile prisoners are kept in juvenile homes or special homes or borstal school. All children receive education and vocational training like carpentry and sewing during their step so that they have at least minimum writing and reading skill. Medical facilities are also provided there by authorized doctor, which means juvenile prisoners are kept separately from other prisoners. They kept in juvenile homes or special homes or borstal school. Different names are there as per the state. All children receive their education. Medical facilities are also provided to juveniles. More concentration is given for their rehabilitation because today's children are tomorrow's future of the country. Next category of prisoner is under trial prisoners. Under trial prisoners are those persons who are facing trials in the competent courts. They are technically under judicial custody, but for all practical purpose, they are kept in same prison. In the Indian prisons, under trial constitute more than 65% of the prison population, must be kept separated from other convicted prisoners. Under trial prisoners are facing trial before the competent court and under the judicial custody. They should be kept separately from convicted prisoners so that they will prevent from communicating with convicted prisoners. They may be influenced by putting them together. Next classification of prisoner is convicted prisoners. Convicted criminal prisoner is defined in Section 3 of the Prisons Act 1894. Convicted criminal prisoners means any criminal prisoner under sentence of the court or court martial and include a person detained in prison under the provisions of Chapter 8 of Criminal Procedure 1882 or under Prisoners Act 1871. Convicted prisoners means those prisoners against whom the court order, that is judgment of conviction, is passed by the court or under the proceeding of court martial, and also include those prisoners mentioned in Chapter 8 of Criminal Procedure Code 1882 and under Prisoners Act 1871. The Criminal Procedure Code 1882 is old enactment. Next type of prisoner is criminal prisoners. Section 2 of Prisons Act 1894 defines criminal prisoners. Criminal prisoners means any prisoners duly committed to custody under the writ, warrant or order of any court authority exercising criminal jurisdiction or by order of court martial. Which means criminal prisoners are those prisoners who are duly committed to custody, means those criminals are under custody of the prison officers and this custody is made under any writ, next warrant or order of any court authorizing exercising The criminal jurisdiction. If any court is exercising civil jurisdiction and if person is committed to custody, then that person is considered as a civil prisoner. Here it is the order is passed by the criminal court or exercising the criminal jurisdiction or again by order of the court martial. So they are considered as a criminal prisoners. Next category of prisoner is civil prisoners. Section 4 of the Prisons Act 1894 defines civil prisoners. Civil prisoners means any prisoner who is not a criminal prisoner. This is a negative definition, means it states that it does not include the criminal prisoner or the person other than a criminal prisoner is considered as a civil prisoner. That's it. It is all about the classification of prisoners. This question may be asked for 12 marks and you have to write in details regarding to the classification of prisoners, the advantages of classification, object of classification and types of prisoners. 2 marks question may also be asked on the types of prisoners, that is woman prisoner or juvenile prisoners or convicted prisoners, or difference between convicted and under trial prisoners may also be asked. That's it. We will meet in next video. Thank you for listening.